Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. April 17th, 2018.
The Kuhner Report is powered by Kelly Financial Services. Cleaning up your financial bull. Get the peace of mind that you deserve at Kelly Financial Services.
It is, but it's Vinnie Penn coming at you again, filling in for Jeff. The Kuhner Report. Hopefully enjoying a well-deserved break. We'd love to hear from you at 617-266-6868. I'd love to get a tweet from you as well. It's at Vinnie Penn, Vinnie. Loved hearing from so many Bostonians yesterday, and I'm on it. Homework assignments were doled out, and they were treated with respect, and they are coming your way. So much coming your way today. So much to get to. We have NBC News Radio national correspondent Mike Bauer joining us shortly to talk about, client number 3. Interestingly, I want to just give a nod to my man, Jared Diglio, who's helping me out. My partner in crime yesterday and today on board here, and producer extraordinaire, but also one of my struggles as a radio host is during your commercial breaks and whatnot, I tend to talk comic books and movies and whatnot. I get so fully immersed in those conversations, it's difficult to switch gears and snap on tackle the headlines. And Mr. Diglio, apparently a fan of comic books as well, with a collection that bests mine. That has unnerved me, if I'm going to be honest. I'm really bothered by your amazing Spider-Man collection, and I thought mine was coming along. And yet, I am able to come out of our conversation, what we were just talking about, and look at some of the stuff in the news today. Look what's going on with Hannity and Stormy, and it's from fiction to fiction, man. It's from comic books to comic books. I don't know. I feel as if the world Stan Lee created so many years ago is a much more real and one where justice exists far more than the one we actually inhabit. Perhaps that's why so many of his creations, Spider-Man to the Black Panther, are enjoying the success they are on the big screen today, because as bombastic as they are, as these costumed superheroes and these superpowers, we're getting our heroes. We're getting the heroes we need. We're getting the justice we need. We've got a Captain America with a star on his chest, the stars and the stripes. Hey, Jared, you'd probably appreciate the fact, my son, as I mentioned yesterday, I have an 11-year-old. When he was, I want to say 6 or 7, on his birthday, as opposed to when I was a kid in school, you just went in and hoped people would wish you a happy birthday. Now you got to send your kid in with Dunkin' Munchkins. You got to send him in or her in with something for everyone in the class so they could celebrate the birthday. I don't know if this is lost on you. And one year I sent my boy in. I said, here's a stack of Captain America comic books. The first Avenger had just come out. He was ecstatic. The Chris Evans portrayal fired the boy up, galvanized him as far as he started talking about, when do I get to become a soldier? Well, Jared, he got dropped off with that stack of Captain America comic books to give out to each classmate on his birthday, only to get picked up with that stack of Captain America comic books. True story in Vinnie Penn's,
really?
Life, because, we just had a teacher, and I felt badly taking her to task on the air on my show here in Connecticut and iHeartRadio, because she's a nice enough gal, but she said we have to be sensitive to the melting pot that is his classroom. And the various students who would say, well, where's my Captain such and such. And those were her words, actually. Yeah, man, I couldn't believe it happened. Up until that point, I had been doing stories and talk radio of the kid. It was always Texas, it seemed like. The kid who had to pull his shirt inside out, came home and, the principal made me put my shirt on inside out. And usually, in those cases, the shirts, maybe there was a gun on the shirt, or a cartoon, or perceived as violent. Even that's a bit much, in my opinion. But these were these were Captain America comic books, and nobody complained. I felt as if this was just a teacher who every day was living in fear of something, if not somebody busting through the not secured front door to the school with an axe to grind. Much like Parkland and so many others, than just the latest parent to gripe about something politically incorrect. Captain America. You know what it was like to explain to my son? I don't even think I tried to. He just had this look of, he didn't understand it. He was a bit of a crybaby then. He still is. And his eyes welled up. He struggled with why he was unable to pass out these comic books.
Well, that's what you get for propagating capitalist imperialism by trying to send Captain America comic books into a classroom.
Imperious Rex, perhaps, Jared. Yeah,
nice.
That reference isn't lost on you. It might be lost on the audience, but never mind. Now, cut to a year ago, and the guy is, or thereabouts. I didn't know, man. This is not my bad, but he wore a Trump hat to school. Now, this was on the campaign trail. Look, mine is not a political living room. My living room is Netflix, man, 24/7. He's not overhearing politically, heated conversations at the dinner table. Really, it's a pop culture playland, and yet he gravitated to that candidate on his own. Wore the hat to school and had to take the hat off. It was one of the most challenging moments I've had as a parent, just in the sense that I'm explaining why showing a fondness for the President of the United States isn't really allowed right now. The kid looked prepped for Santa. I need to tiptoe everywhere he needed to tiptoe, and on every subject matter. It was really something. So just prior to kicking off today's show, again, filling in for Jeff right here on the Kuhner Report. My name is Vinnie Penn. We're talking comic books, and then I'm looking at this story, getting updates on Hannity and client number 3, and I'm thinking about immediately how the novel Lay in Wait. Will it be John Grisham writing Mystery Client? Will it be Michael Crichton writing Client number 3? And it'll be a talk show host. They won't call him Hannity. It'll have another name. Or maybe the book will be Harry Potter and the Client in the Shadows, by J.K. Rowling. Because going back and forth between worlds of fiction and what the mainstream media is handing us ain't all that hard. With regard to the Stormy Hannity Cohen debacle yesterday, to NBC News Radio, Mike Bauer. How are you, my man?
I am great, Vinny. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Congratulations. How long you been doing this now?
I officially have been doing this for the better part of a month now. So, but I've been working for NBC News for a long period of time now. When I saw Vinnie Penn, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I get to call Vinnie Penn. That's fantastic. I was thrilled.
A nice fit for you. And what a story that you're covering today. Trump and Stormy and Cohen and
what a circus! Vinny? The only thing that was missing from this story it was literally if Sean Hannity's name had exploded in pyrotechnics in the courtroom.
Yeah.
Because you start off with the parade of Stormy Daniels going into the courtroom in her skin-tight pink mini dress and then stiletto high heels, being chased by the press to go in. And again, she's just there for the whole disruption factor in the courtroom. It was like a missing scene out of The Godfather, right?
Yeah.
And then you get into the actual courtroom itself, and you've got Trump's team saying that they want the president the only one to have eyes on this whole attorney-client privileged information. You've got Cohen's team saying, we want to be the ones that have it, or perhaps you can have this thing that sounds like straight out of an S&M bondage film, a special master that has the ability to go through all this information and determine what is and isn't under the attorney-client privilege. And then you have the prosecution all saying that, no, all of this is 100% cool right now. This is the way all of this works in a law, where you have a federal warrant, we collect everything so that nothing gets destroyed, and then we go through it and look at it. And then, on top of it all, this third client that Cohen's supposed to be protecting, no one's supposed to know about, and the name Sean Hannity comes up, and there are audible gasps. Pearl clutching going on, Vinny.
Yeah, and given what I do, news talk and conservative radio, I don't kid myself. Doesn't do me any good to be delusional. So there's always that day that a story comes towards me, that I think, this one is going to be tough to defend or to stand by.
Right.
This could be the one where I get the people on Facebook are like, nah, how you feeling too, as if it's egg on my face.
Right.
But the Hannity end of the equation, I might have felt that way for a few minutes, but I thought he acquitted himself kind of nicely by saying he's a guy I know. I never retained him, but he's a legal person. I've asked advice. We do go back, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if this is the catch-22 for Hannity that they want us to believe it is, Mike.
I don't think that it is right now. It's possible that it could be, and here's why it could be, and that all comes back to the fact that supposedly Michael Cohen with regularity would record conversations with his clients. Now, again, Sean has made the point that he's not, in a legal traditional sense, he's not retained Michael Cohen for any legal expertise. He's had conversations with him. He's discussed things with him. But if indeed there is something in this attorney-client privileged information that the FBI has on hand, there might be some phone calls or some other information therein, especially, and this is what seems to be being brought up today, especially when Michael Cohen calls himself the fixer. I think that there's a possibility, certainly. I mean, I've asked lawyers questions and asked friends who are lawyers for advice on certain things. Sean Hannity could absolutely do that, but when you're talking about the fixer, and his specialization is sort of being that Ray Donovan-type fixer when it comes to legal issues, maybe there's more in that. We have yet to see. One of the big concerns, of course, from other Fox News personalities, including Juan Williams and I believe it was Alan Dershowitz, both kind of scolded him for not saying and disclosing that he had worked with Michael Cohen after defending President Trump and Cohen during some of those speeches. But aside from that, there's nothing else here that indicates anything other than the possibility of discussions between those two.
It's the fact that he's smarter than that. Having been a lawyer himself, it's almost like that's too much of a gaffe for a Sean Hannity. He should have been out in front of this. He's smarter than that. We have NBC News Radio national correspondent Mike Bauer. Go back a ways, and we both have stand-up comedy roots.
Yeah.
Watching O'Reilly, his empire, watch that topple, I thought, wow, man, if O'Reilly can go, I mean, he's a juggernaut. Then I'm looking at Hannity. It's like, oh, this is a scary time, maybe, to be conservative radio. Then I started thinking, this is just making room for new shows. This is that's all
you know what? Look, Vinny, they're creating job opportunities for the rest of us in radio, right?
Mike, let them fall. Where O'Reilly and Hannity once stood, there is now Bauer and Penn. I don't know why.
Right, they're freeing up salary. It's like getting rid of players you don't need any longer on your baseball or football team. You're freeing up the salary for the future generations to come through. I agree with you on that one, Vinny. You know what? That's a very optimistic way of looking at things.
Yeah, because I do think these guys became such powerhouses themselves. You do. I mean, with absolute power.
Corrupts, absolutely.
Absolutely, what have you. You could lose sight. Shep Smith, I know they've been at odds for a while, he and Hannity. But even Smith, his self-righteousness is what has led him astray. Hannity's loyalty to Trump, while I admire it, because I think loyalty to a president, man, what a wonderful thing. We need more of it in this country. the collision is kind of inevitable. But let me ask you this, Mike. Do you feel as if today those, looking for a takedown, they now regret Stormy? Because it's like, this was about Cohen. You turned it into a circus. You distracted from what we were looking to do here today with Cohen. I mean, even the New York Post called it a 3-ring circus and her black stiletto heels. Do you think there's regret today that they trotted Stormy Daniels out?
I think that there's a bit of regret for that. I think they're trying desperately to kind of to pull at this concept of, well, she's a great voice for women everywhere, and she's kind of come out in a shocking and surprising fashion to speak eloquently and make her statements and be an orator for this voice. And I kind of went, really? The whole point of her being in that courtroom was just to distract everybody from what was being said in the courtroom. I think the only way this works out along those lines is depending on the information that they got from Cohen's office. If there is any of these recorded messages, if there were any sort of details, scandalous details that, what they're looking to do is they're looking to get Capone on tax evasion rather than the crimes that he actually committed. That's what they're trying to do here with President Trump. And so with that, they're looking and hoping that there's something in that information that the FBI has that will be able to nail Cohen to the wall and be able to tie it back to Trump. Yeah. That's what they're hoping for. If Stormy Daniels on some tangential way can deliver that, I guess they're going to be thrilled with it.
Yeah, I'm hesitant. I legit, if you want me to send it to you, I can. I have one article in front of me that actually opens with porn star Stormy Daniels, best known for adult films like Big Busted Goddesses of Las Vegas and The Witches of Brestwick, turned a hotly anticipated court appearance into a 3. And I'm thinking, why are you opening this in a way as if we're all like, oh, yeah, I saw that one. They served up 2 titles of adult films, like best known for... Nobody knows these. Why are you talking about her like she's Megan Fox or some actress? Nobody knows. They're giving her more credibility than she would ever deserve, I think.
When you look at her and you hear her talk, I don't need to know her IMDb. I don't need to know that she's the porn star version of Meryl Streep. That's not what I'm looking for. It doesn't add any credibility in my factor that way. So especially and listen, if you're looking for me to write them down and use them for weekend viewing, okay, I'll buy that. Yeah. But aside from that, I don't. Unless they're going to ask you those questions. Yeah. Excuse me, Miss Daniels, are you indeed the star of the Witches of Brestwick? Is that your movie? Yes, indeed. Okay, great.
Yeah. I love that.
Actually, there's no other need for that.
I love that you went with Meryl Streep because Trump called her overrated and he has called Stormy Daniels overrated. So it's perfect, Bauer. It
makes absolute sense, Vinny. Absolute sense.
I love it. I love catching up with you. And congrats on the new gig, NBC News Radio national correspondent Mike Bauer. We'll talk again, I'm sure, very soon. Actually, it's Vinnie Penn filling in for Jeff. Kuhner Report. Here with you yesterday, tackling today too. I appreciate you giving me a shot here. We're at 617-266-6868. Are conservative radio and TV hosts on the endangered species list? That's the question of the day. Love to hear your thoughts on that. Again, 617-266-6868. Hard to not give it some serious thought. You watch O'Reilly, a juggernaut, toppled. You see Hannity, what to make of this? Hannity's name came up. Cohen gave up his client list, and Hannity's name was on it. Let's give a listen to Sean Hannity himself responding to all the heat he's now facing.
All right, there's been all kinds of wild speculation from the mainstream media today about me and President Trump's personal attorney, Michael Cohen, after my name was mentioned in court proceedings earlier today. Now, predictably, without knowing all or, frankly, any of the facts, the media went absolutely insane. Wall-to-wall, hour-by-hour coverage of yours truly.
He stood up and he said the name Sean Hannity.
How did he say it? Was it like Sean Hannity? Sean Hannity.
Sean Hannity.
Sean Hannity.
This is what the media in this country does. Let me set the record straight. Here's the truth. Michael Cohn never represented me in any legal matter. I never retained his services. I never received an invoice. I never paid Michael Cohn for legal fees. I did have occasional brief conversations with Michael Cohn. He's a great attorney about legal questions I had, or I was looking for input and perspective. My discussions with Michael Cohn never rose to any level that I needed to tell anyone that I was asking him questions. And to be absolutely clear, they never involved any matter, sorry to disappoint so many, matter between me or third party, a third group at all. And my questions exclusively almost focused on real estate. I said many times on my radio show, I hate the stock market. I prefer real estate. Michael knows real estate. So in response to all the wild speculation, I want to set the record straight here tonight. I never asked Michael Cohn to bring this proceeding on my behalf. I have no personal interest in this legal matter. That's all there is, nothing more.
Well said, but is it enough? We'll take a break. It's Vinnie Penn in for Jeff on the Kuhner Report. Well, happy Tuesday. Why not, right? It's your decision. You can make it one. It's Vinnie Penn filling in for Jeff on the Kuhner Report, the great RKO. Waiting on your call at 617-266-6868. The question of the day is, are conservative radio and TV hosts on the endangered species list? You think it could be a question a guy like me wouldn't necessarily want to ask? They certainly do seem, perhaps I should say we certainly do seem targeted these days. Now, O'Reilly story, decidedly different one. That's an empire, though. Hannity's hot water because he's client number 3. He was on a client list as far as Cohen is concerned. Does that make him closer to Trump than any one of us ever really knew? To bring you up to speed, we just played Sean Hannity responding to this whole dust up yesterday, thanks to Stormy and Cohen and the circus that was the court date yesterday. Here's a little highlight of what Sean Hannity had to say.
Let me set the record straight. Here's the truth. Michael Cohn never represented me in any legal matter. I never retained his services. I never received an invoice. I never paid Michael Cohn for legal fees. I did have occasional brief conversations with Michael Cohn. He's a great attorney about legal questions I had, or I was looking for input and perspective. My discussions with Michael Cohn never rose to any level that I needed to tell anyone that I was asking him questions. And to be absolutely clear, they never involved any matter, sorry to disappoint so many, matter between me or third party, a third group at all.
Now, to be fair, a couple of interesting things there as Sean Hannity with his trademark conviction smashes down this breaking news of, hey, the Cohen raid. Sean Hannity's name's on the client list. Now, he just acquitted himself quite nicely there. Would that get your name? Questions about real estate, questions from a friend to a friend or colleague to a certain degree. Would that get your name on a client list? How did Cohen... It's all a matter of Cohen's organizational skills, really, at this point, is it not? There's a tried and true client list. Would he have put Sean Hannity's name and contact information on there? I'm genuinely asking the question here. Or if he was just someone who reached out, Sean Hannity on occasion, could it just be a name, number programmed into his cell phone, his mobile device? Begs the question. I have questions. Was it on a tried and true client list? Or, I mean, this raid hit everything. It hit Cohen, the glove compartment of his car, a hotel room he stayed in, his cell phone, his office, his home. Man, his shoes, back pockets. It went through everything. They shook out the high school and the college yearbooks for photos and XOs. I need to know Was this on a file, a hard drive, a client list in that way? And then it does also beg the question, why didn't you get out in front of this, Sean Hannity? Just asking the question of, I know Michael. You had all this time here to say, I know Cohen. I've spoken with him in the past. I know him very well. Good guy. Perhaps he has to a certain degree on his program. Or perhaps he's so disgusted by the media's need to turn everything into more sizzle than it really is, and that contempt for the very industry that has afforded him this really great career. Maybe there's such frustration and contempt that couldn't be bothered. And he would cross that bridge when he gets to it. He got to it. 617-266-6868. Let's go to Weymouth. Scott's been waiting a couple minutes, wants to talk about how news has basically changed to entertainment. Scott, I welcome you to the show. I thank you for the call.
All right, thank you for taking the call, Vinnie. I've never spoken with you before. You're doing a great job. You're filling in big shoes there for Kuhner. You're doing a great job.
I appreciate that. I know they're huge shoes. These are clown shoes.
Where are you normally? If I could talk about that real quick. Where are you from? What's up?
I'm in Connecticut. I got a morning show, the Vinnie Penn Project, on a couple of stations in Connecticut, and it's just been a great opportunity. I'm no Kuhner man, but cool. Maybe a sidekick.
No, that's cool. I'll check you out. I'll check you out.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's VINNIE.
Yes, the news. People don't realize this. It's unbelievable. The days of Walter Cronkite on at 6 p.m. to 6:30 are over. Yeah. It's not even news anymore. It's more entertainment. It's almost, you're probably wondering where I'm going with this, and I will get there if I'm granted the time.
Of course.
It's ratings. Like everything else in life, it's about money, Vinny, right? Everybody wants ratings. So the news, it's tough to fill 24 hours. Think about this. I mean, I'm 41 years old. When I was 15 years old, if you want the news, 6 o'clock, channel 4507 in Boston.
Absolutely.
That's about it. Now, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, CNBC, and the ilk, and boom, they have to fill 24 hours. That's a lot of content. So what you get with that is a lot of the BS, i.e. Stormy Daniels. Here's the segue. Stormy Daniels. Are you kidding me? You're kidding me.
Let me jump in here really quick, Scott, too, because you'll probably appreciate this. I just found out, you asked me where I'm from. I'm in Connecticut, and hey, lucky me, Stormy Daniels will be appearing at a club in East Windsor, Connecticut. Yeah, thanks to the... Thanks to...
Do I dare ask?
Well, it's a gentleman's club. I mean, she'll be dancing, she'll be signing photos, but this is interesting, Scott. Now, to prove the further decline of Western civilization, her 15 minutes of fame, she gets to go on tour. And what I'm most interested in is there'll be a turnout, and that turnout will be comprised of haters, of people who've I believe there's going to be a lot of women, actually, too, who just want the photo next to Stormy to prove the hate. And what motivation to get into your car. And she's got a date in New York. I'm sure a Boston club date awaits, too.
Vinny, it's going to be beyond a turnout. It's going to be a zoo.
It's
going to be a zoo. They'll have to, what do they call it at a club? You go see a club, the firefighters limit, 600 capacity, They're going to have to leave people in the parking lot. Like, no, we're booked, we're out. And it just goes to show how culture is right now. I mean, I could go in 9 directions. Yeah, imagine this. I'll pick my words carefully. We're on the air.
Yes, sir.
Imagine this. I'll call her an opportunist again. I won't say what I want to say. Okay.
Yeah.
But.
Well, also because.
Give me a second, kid.
Well, I was just going to say, also, you're struggling with what to call her, what word is right. Keep in mind, too, she's being exploited. There's a slew of people who are like, what is her deal? Oh, she is perfect. Well, they'll discard her when they're done with her. So she's just being jostled in a million directions.
Vinny, there's a lot of pimps out there. All right?
There you go. Well done,
right?
Scotty.
Okay, there's a lot of pimps, a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? I want to swear, but I won't. All right.
I know it. You're dangerously close.
Yes. Yeah. By the way, let me close with this, bro. I shouldn't say bro. Sir, excuse me.
No, go ahead.
Talking to you. I think you're really cool. All right. Here we go. Ready? by the way, what an awful person she is. Not because she's a porn star, but because she took the $130,000 and still talked. Was she supposed to shut her mouth if she got paid $130,000?
Yeah. Listen, there's a lot about her. That interview was impossible to. Anderson Cooper himself looked like he was wincing at her insane story about within a minute she rolled up a magazine and was spanking the backside of all people. He's been called a misogynist. He's been called a sexist. But he was going to allow that to happen in the open door of a hotel room. Stormy Daniels was going to make that happen. And she's full of it. But, Scott, I appreciate the call. And again, it's Vinnie Penn filling in for Jeff here on the Kuhner Report. 617-266-6868 is the number. You can tweet at me at Vinnie Penn. Let's go to Bruce on line 4, if we can, from Essex. He's got a little tear on talk show hosts. Come and get me, Bruce.
Yeah, look, the problem is that there is no interest in government whatsoever among talk show hosts in particular, including National Public Radio. The only interest is in the squabble, particularly the internal squabbles of the Republican Party, which does us no good whatsoever. At the same time that the government is destroying our incomes, is destroying the military, there is no interest whatsoever. And we hear nothing about it. It's just whether some woman that we didn't even want to hear about in the first place is dealing with the internal things of the Republican Party. Why not start talking about the government?
Yeah. It is a great question. Bruce, thanks so much for the call there. You know, the first time he used the term Republicrat, I thought that could be, maybe we'll get there one day. The parties will merge and we'll have Republicrats. How Freudian. But then to say it a second time, perhaps that I'm missing something here. But an interesting question nonetheless. Leslie's got one too from New Hampshire. Why do they have to name clients at all? I don't know about when it's a raid, Leslie. I would imagine there's no naming being done at all. It's a raid, right?
Right, but why are they pulling out all the other clients? And I still do not understand what this all has to do with Russian collusion.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that's a great question too. Russian collusion, unconscious bias. We'll get to that one in a little bit as well. But I think you mean names as far as Hannity's name should have never surfaced. You're thinking it should have never come out because it had nothing to do with the initial raid. Okay, fair enough. But I would imagine that the narrative here is he blocked those Russian collusion stories from making it to the air on Fox News. He's helping 45. That would be the narrative, I bet.
I've heard about plenty of Russian collusion stories on Fox.
Yeah.
Maybe not from Hannity, but I've heard plenty of it.
Yeah. Leslie, thanks so much for the call there. You know, as far as Fox is concerned, people are wondering, is disciplinary action laying in wait? The network hasn't said anything, hasn't made any comments. That's when you'll know. That's when you'll know if the question of the day here on the Kuhner Report, Vinnie Penn asking it, though, is are conservative radio and TV hosts on the endangered species list, meaning the takedown's in full effect. And it's amazing the things that can take a media figure down. But I mean, they weathered the storm with Ingram, the boycott, and that was a tough one to weather in the sense this is a high school shooting, et cetera, But there is obviously, I don't want to say a movement of many movements afoot, and one of them is to silence any ideologies that are diametrically opposed to yours. Silence them, get rid of them, make enough noise, go after whatever you got to do, go after them. And I've been watching for quite a while now, a couple of years now, who stands by who. Because I often wonder, can a somewhat sketchy story. Not the greatest story in the world. Come on. The guy doesn't look the best in the story. But have a manager, have a program director, what have you, someone at Fox, whatever, in charge, be like, look, this does not I stand by a man I hired who's become a friend, who's a good man. This does not define his character, who he is. You don't see a lot of it. You see a little. I'd like to see a little more, dependent upon the story, of course. But what happened to that kind of loyalty and that kind of, I'm not going to break a sweat because this person you've ticked off is calling for a boycott, and oh man, we just lost our biggest advertiser. Look, nobody gets that more than a radio guy like myself. I've been doing radio for 20 years. That's hitting you in the gut, the breadbasket, but the advertiser. But we should be facilitating the kind of relationships where it's like my manager can say, look, okay, that's not a great story. We're confirming it to be true. All right, Vin, did you really do that? All right, let's talk. First things first, though. Known Vinnie X amount of years. Good man. This does not define him. Married, got 2 kids, et cetera, et cetera. I'd like to see more of that. Got time for one more call right now, and I want to go to Ross in Boston, who I believe is just going to echo my sentiments. Russ, take it away.
Vinnie, how are you today? Nice to see you for a second day here on RKO.
Thanks, man.
The biggest mistake you made, instead of giving your son a comic book, which you should have given him is a couple of dozen tolerance books. Billy has 2 daddies, Buffy has 2 mummies, and you know what? You would have got the Parent of the Year award.
Yeah, you're going back to, I opened the show sharing the story of my son on his birthday. I bought him a stack of Captain America comic books to give his classmates. Isn't that interesting, Russ? When you and I we were lucky if the teacher said, hey, it's so-and-so's birthday. Everybody sing happy birthday. Now you got to send your kids in with cupcakes for nothing peanuts, no allergies, be afraid. And I gave him a stack of Captain America comic books because that movie had just come out and they came right on home with them.
It's okay that you bring cupcakes in that has sugar in them, but yet they won't let you have a Coke in the school, And,
yeah.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
By the way, Vinny, seriously, when they canned Bill O'Reilly, Fox lost me. Because seriously, I can do my own analysis. I don't have to listen to a bunch of talking heads and their commentary. The biggest difference between watching anything on the tube versus what I call Radio Free USA, which we're on right now, is that, someone can say something, and then you can pick up a phone, and you can counter what they say. But those on the boob tube, they get away with saying anything that they want, and you have the opportunity to challenge it. And that's what I love about talk radio, is that, if you listen, you can learn a lot, because you hear diversity of opinion on a talk show.
I'm glad, actually, Russ, that you just said that at the end there, because I was going to say, basically, it's a pro-radio commentary, and you're right, because the back and forth should be continuing, and on radio, it does. I hope it will continue to. 617-266-6868. It's Vinnie Penn, again, filling in for Jeff on the Kuhner Report on the great RKO. Vinnie Penn in for Jeff Kuhner on the great RKO. You can tweet at me at Vinnie Penn. I'm getting some great stuff on Twitter right now. Going to get to it. Going to get to a lot today. Going to get to unconscious bias just around the corner. Going to get to Brad Meltzer, best-selling. He's got a bestseller out right now, The Escape Artist, that I want to get to. And some very interesting stuff. A thread he'll continue to run the thread through today's show of heroes to heroes we need, and where we seek them out, where we find them, our military, and so much more. Right now, I want to get back to the phone, so head to the Cape. Jerry, who wants to talk conspiracy. What have you got, Jerry?
Oh, I wanted to talk about Mike Cohen for a minute.
Go right ahead, my man.
They went in there with the open warrants, search warrants for bank fraud, money laundering, and illegal campaign finance. They hit the Trump Tower where his apartment is. They hit the Rockefeller Plaza where his office is, and they also took everything out of the Hyatt where his room was. there has to be proof of illegal activity here between Donald Trump and Michael Cohen to negate the attorney-client privilege. But on the other hand, too, Vinnie, Mueller, the spokespeople for Mueller was saying that Michael Cohen is being investigated for illegal activity. That's what this raid was about, essentially. Yeah. But he has other high-profile clients, too, Vinnie.
Sure.
He had David Brock, Jeffrey Epstein, and also Hillary Clinton. He represented Hillary Clinton on a number of occasions.
And Bill, yeah. Interestingly, Jerry, the way you described the raid was really well done because it came off as very efficient. Imagine if we were that efficient on the border. I mean, imagine if we were that efficient in all areas.
What border, Vinnie?
Just everywhere. Just imagine if we were that efficient when it came to security at schools across America. This was so well orchestrated that the efficiency, they didn't leave one rock not overturned because the Trump takedown means that much to them. I've never seen the FBI. The FBI hasn't performed this well in ages. The Secret Service, Obama's Secret Service, they partied and they hung around with more hookers than any Secret Service in history. And yet, when they needed to, as it pertained to Cohen and Trump, they got efficient, didn't they?
Oh, Vinnie, yes, they did. But having said that, I think the other clients, I think there may be more to this story than we know.
I'm sure there is, but Hannity, his name will pop right out. There's a ton of names, Jerry, you and I are never going to hear.
No, of course not. He has a number of clients. But on that note, I heard that they were investigating a lot of Michael Cohen's business dealings, particularly a cab company that he was running, a cab service that he owned in New York City. That's what I heard, part of what this is about. Yeah. But I think there's more than that. I think they're going to look into some of these clients that were Michael Cohen's clients, regardless of the president.
Yeah. That's great stuff, Jerry. And I appreciate the call and the comments. And names, but they'll have to be names like, I hope not to get in trouble for this. They'd have to be names like Hannity or Tucker Carlson or Mattis or names that resonate on the hate list. Never mind the client list, the hate list. It's really something. Again, Vinnie Penn filling in for Jeff on the Kuhner Report on the great RKO. We have so much lined up for you today. I hope you will stick around and give us a call at 617-266-6868.
The voice of Boston is you. 680 WRKO Boston, 100.7 WZLX HD2 Boston, an iHeart radio station.